And Congressman Tim Murphy, Republican of Pennsylvania and chairman of the House Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee, joins me now. Congressman, thanks for being here. Did you hear anybody today take responsibility and accept the blame for what has gone wrong so far with the Obamacare websites?
Nobody. Every one of them pointed to someone else. They said that their part worked. They never tested to see if it worked with anything else. And they were just saying their little window was fine and somebody else has to take the blame.
So Cheryl Campbell of CGI Federal also said that things are getting better. People will be able to enroll by the deadline. Do you think she's right?
Well, the deadline being March, we would hope so. But still, we did not get answers in terms of do they understand the depth of the problem and what happened. Whenever it came to those points, they would point to someone else. But they also said there was just 2 weeks before the rollout that HMS and HHS and also CMS changed things on them. But they really couldn't give us details of what they did. And I said, well, did you ask for more time? Were more things happening? Couldn't get a straight answer on that in terms of the hearing.
What do you think they changed? What would the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services change? We've heard speculation, informed speculation from healthcare experts that perhaps it was they didn't want the website to give people the price until they were fully enrolled and their names and social security numbers were in there, because of fear of sticker shock would chase away all the healthy people they need to join.
And that still exists. You can browse some general prices, but you can't find out the products, and you can't find out if that price works for you. So what they changed in mid-September was they now wanted people to put all that data in first so they could lock it in, a lot of it's personal information, and then they would tell you what it was if you could get it. But that's where a big bottleneck occurred, and that's where the people from CGI and other companies said, maybe that was part of the problem here, but they never tested out. And I'm puzzled with these changes taking place, if they think they can overcome this now, 55 different contracts in this, why didn't they speak up at that moment and say, you've made a huge change in the process here? Anything else to buy online, you look at the price first, you compare products, but not with something that's a life and death matter.
It does seem strange. What do you want in terms of accountability? You have not signed the letter from, I think it's 32 House Republicans, calling for Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius to resign for President Obama, to demand her resignation. You have not joined that group, at least not yet. Who should be held accountable, and who should, if anyone, lose their job?
Well, what I want from Secretary Sebelius is I want her to do her job. And her job is to tell us what happened, who made these decisions that made a difference. With $500 million being spent, how much of that was wasted, and how much additional money are we going to have to spend because someone didn't have proper oversight? When I have had hearings over the last 10 months, repeatedly people from the administration said, don't worry, everything's fine. In fact, they even acted annoyed that we were asking questions because somehow we were getting in their way. They just a few days before rollout, they said everything was fine. As it turns out, at that very time they told us things were going to be okay, that appears to have been about the same week that they made these major changes and things unraveled from there. So I'd like to know, who are the people within HHS and CMS who are making these changes and these decisions? Where was that coming from? We want to know if it's from Secretary Sebelius or someone else.
What do you say to Democrats who say, you know what, you're not really concerned. You don't support Obamacare to begin with. You want it to fail. These are crocodile tears. You're not actually that worried about it at all.
Well, that's silly. And it's silly because none of their questions really pursued along the lines of who was responsible for what happened. Their questions were consistently things like, do you promise everything's going to be okay? Are you really, really promising? They weren't seriously pursuing this. And that is something that's important. Something that is so important that they ran through without any Republican support. Any amendments we put in, they removed before it got to the House floor. They continued to push us through, and now they're saying, will you please help us make this work? So part of helping to make it work is just saying, I've got 750,000 constituents almost, and they're saying this doesn't work. So tell us what you're going to do to change it before this whole new surge of techies comes in and does something which the White House isn't even telling us what's going to happen. They just have some plan that's private.
I guess the last question I have for you is, you're a psychologist in addition to being a member of Congress. Since repealing Obamacare is not going to happen anytime in the next few years, if ever, what do you want to happen to Obamacare to change it, to make it better, so Pennsylvanians who don't have health insurance, and there are a lot of them, will be able to get this product?
I'd still like there to be a confidentiality of records online, and that's not there. I'd like to know the IRS can't access it. I want people to be able to buy their insurance wherever they want, not just one little restricted community. The president said you can keep your insurance if you want it. I want that to happen. I want people to be able to keep their doctor. That's not going to happen. That needs to change. So to have this marketplace where you really can buy the plan you want and see the doctor that you need at a price you can afford still needs to happen.
Congressman Tim Murphy, thank you so much, and say hello to the beautiful Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
I'll do that. Thank you.